Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Find Your Future Career Exploration panel. My name is David Bell. My focus at Hamilton is career advising, and we'd like to thank you all for joining us here. And of course, thank my colleagues as well, who will introduce themselves in a moment. First of all, let me extend our congratulations to you on your acceptance to Hamilton, the class of 2024, yay. Of course, we would have preferred to welcome you in person through a campus visit. However, unfortunately, because of COVID-19, or actually, fortunately, the admissions is providing a variety of virtual sessions to assist you and your families to make this important decision on where you'll be attending college. So we at the Career Center are really happy to be a part of these virtual sessions, and we want to talk a little bit about the ways our office supports Hamilton students as they explore their career interests during their time here. So after some brief introductions and an overview of the Find Your Future model, we'll spend the remaining time answering questions that you might have. I know many of you have already sent questions in when you registered, and thank you, but there will be an opportunity also to ask questions live on the chat right to the right side of your screen. And we'll try to address as many questions as possible during our hour together. So let's get started. I'm joined today by four colleagues who will first introduce themselves quickly, and then we're going to talk a little bit more in detail about the Career Center and how it will help you as a Hamilton student. We also are fortunate to have a senior student, Maggie Luddy, yay, hi Maggie, who will join in the conversation and also moderate your questions. So let's start. Again, my name is David Bell, and I am a career advisor.
Hi, I'm Heather Wixon, and I am also a career advisor.
I am Janine Oliver. I'm also one of the career advisors.
Hi, everyone. I'm Leslie Bell. I'm the health professions advisor.
Hi, everybody. I'm Abby Taylor, and I oversee our engagement team.
Great, thank you. So we'd like to provide a quick overview of our model here at the Career Center. Basically, it consists of four key pillars. The first one being a dedicated career advisor for each student that comes to Hamilton. And I'll talk more about this in a moment. The second pillar is a structured career development program, and Janine will be talking a little bit more about this momentarily. We have industry education programs that tap the expertise of Hamilton alumni. Abby will be addressing that. And lastly, the fourth pillar is basically employer engagement, through which internship and job opportunities and other types of engagement with employers are generated. Again, many of which come through the Hamilton Career Network, consisting of alumni and parents, and Abby will be speaking to that as well. So a couple more details about the first pillar, our dedicated advisor model. There are four career advisors. Three of them are here on our panel tonight. As you come to Hamilton in the summer, each student is assigned a career advisor during the summer. And basically the intent of this model is to provide somebody who you will build a relationship with over the 4 years, who will help you explore your career interests. And basically, I think I want to mention that this model of a dedicated advisor is fairly distinctive. I don't think any of our peer institutions have a similar model. Its real value is allows the advisors to be proactive. We know who our cohort is. We can engage you. We don't have to wait for you to show up in our office. We have a sense for what you might be interested in, and we can reach out and send you resources, invite you to come talk to us. And so it allows us to be proactive and targeted in our engagement with you. Another value of this model is that, coming to a liberal arts college, students often have a lot of careers they would like to explore, and oftentimes they might even change their direction. And with this model, you have a single person that stays with you through that whole process. Whether or not you have a multiple interests or change your interest, there's someone that you can count on to help you kind of explore and make the decisions that will help you as you graduate. We are trained professionals who wear a lot of different hats depending on the situation. We advise, we listen and encourage, we coach, we educate, and we refer you to other individuals and resources. Heather, I believe you're going to talk a little bit more about how career advisors work with students once they're here.
Thank you,
Thank you.
David. Once you are assigned a career advisor, you will get a postcard in the mail, and it will tell you who your career advisor is, and you'll also have a picture. It's like my face in the mail, or Janine's face, or David's face. So you will know who your advisor is before you get here, and we will be doing outreach pretty regularly via the handshake system. We'll be letting you know things that we think you could be doing or thinking about, or telling you to come on in and see us. As freshmen, we like to kind of let you get acclimated your first semester, but we do encourage you to come in whenever you're ready. Send us emails, do whatever. We like to be a really a good touch point for you from the moment you get here. A lot of the work we do is helping you navigate the modules in our curriculum, which Janine is going to talk about in a minute. There's a lot of workshops that you can do to meet those curricular goals, but you can also meet with your advisor individually to do a lot of that. So your advisor is here, it's your touch point at the Career Center. We'll reach out to you and make sure that you're doing what you need to do as you're kind of moving through Hamilton and your career development process. Janine, do you want to go ahead and talk a little bit about the curriculum and what they can expect?
Sure. So first I have to acknowledge how awkward this is. I'm at my best when I'm in a room full of people and I can't see any of you. But I think we're all getting a little bit used to this. I was thinking the other day how students are always asking like, okay, what do I do for a video chat interview? We are all going to be so good at that by the end of it. But sorry to digress. So a couple things, David mentioned that having a dedicated advisor is something that's distinctive about Hamilton. It certainly is. There are a couple of other things about our model that really set us apart from peer schools. So one of them is that we have a formalized curriculum that has specific modules that students work through, and this is really great for students for a couple of reasons. One, it's a roadmap for you, right? So you don't know what you don't know. None of us do. And a lot of students come in not knowing where to get started. So this helps them know where to jump in. A lot of career centers get branded as like, oh yeah, they just look at resumes or they just post jobs. And I think it's really clear to students that we teach skills and we help you with those skills along the way. And so that's a really important element of this. The other really cool thing about this curriculum is that a lot of the, sorry, toddler in the background, a lot of the first stages of it are delivered and taught by our team of peer advisors. So we have a team of over 30 peer advisors. Maggie's one of them, an amazing one of them. And they deliver a lot of this curriculum to their peers. There are a couple of strengths to being able to do that. So one is that you're learning from people who were just in the same position as you or are currently doing those same things. And so that makes the information much easier to digest and kind of ask questions that you might feel silly asking otherwise. So I think that's pretty cool to be able to talk to people who are at that same stage. But the other thing is that having such a large student staff between this team and the Connect team that Abby will talk about, we have over 75 students on our staff. Career development is pervasive around campus. People know the things that should matter to them at different points in time. They understand, even if they've never done it, that networking is a thing and that the Hamilton community will support you with it. And so I think that's another one of the really great strengths. This team also does individual appointments, and they do a lot of awareness building programming, which basically means that you can't escape them as you go around campus. They are aggressively friendly people, for better or worse. And I think that's really helpful that you don't need to go out of your way to seek career development. So the way that this team of peer advisors works together with the rest of our model is that a lot of the basic skills are taught in workshops or individual appointments by peer advisors. And then your career advisor will be able to help you more with the strategic thinking and the reflection, the deeper pieces that apply this directly to you. They can really get to know you, or we can, as a person. And so really help you make decisions that are right for you. You can check out on our website the structure of that curriculum. I think you might get bored if I delved into all of the aspects, but I'll tell you broadly, it's based on the areas of know thyself, which is really reflection based, getting to know yourself and your skills and how it all fits together at different points in time. Explore, so exploring what career options are out there by reading, talking to people, watching people in their jobs, and actually doing things to try them out. And then connect is really focused on actual strategy around finding opportunities. So that's the curriculum and discovery team, peer advisors. Did I miss anything?
No, that's great.
I'm good.
Thanks, Jean.
So I think I'm up next. Hi, everybody. Again, I'm Leslie Bell. And for those of you who are wondering, the person on the screen whose last name is Bell, other than me,
Leslie.
is actually my husband. We are married, just clear the air there. So you heard both from David and from Heather a little bit about the dedicated advisor model. And Heather told you that in the summer, you're going to get a postcard with Heather's picture on it, or David's or Janine's or our other colleague Lisa's picture. Those of you who are interested in a health profession will also be assigned me as your secondary advisor. You won't get a postcard from me, but here's my face. I know who I am. I work, I should say the career advisors and I work very much in tandem with pre-health students to help you prepare for your health professions goal, both academically, since there are many required prerequisite courses for entering the health profession. So I should back up and say that I am not the pre-med advisor, I'm a pre-health advisor, because I work with students at Hamilton who are interested in medicine, dentistry, nursing, veterinary medicine, physician assistant, physical therapy, and so on. So with all of these health professions, there are required prerequisite courses, and my job is to help you also, along with your academic advisor, to make sure that you get the academic preparation that you need at Hamilton. And then I work with my career advisor colleagues to make sure that you also are prepared experientially with the medically related or health related experiences that you need to pursue your goal. And then I also work with students throughout the application process, both while you're a student at Hamilton as well as after you graduate from Hamilton, since the majority of people actually apply to a health profession school after they graduate. So more and more people nationally, and certainly from Hamilton and colleges like ours, are taking a gap year or even two before matriculating to their health profession school. So that's a little bit about what I do.
Thank you. Again, I'm Abby, and I am here representing the team of people whose goal is to engage alumni and employers for the benefit of students. And there are a couple of ways that we accomplish that. One is to provide industry education to students, and we use our experts in the field, our alumni who work in the fields that our students are interested in. And we do that similar to what Janine described about the discovery team, through something called the Connect teams. And so this is also a team of students, and their role is to connect with alumni to develop programs for their peers around industries and industry education, or even skill development in different areas, because we do have a life skills team in addition to the teams that are industry specific. And the other way that we do our connection with alumni and employers for the benefit of students is to connect students with opportunities, either for internships or jobs, or what we call at Hamilton CRE, career-related experience. So the number one way that our alumni have expressed to us that they would like to engage with Hamilton is through connecting with students around issues, around careers and career development. So we're really proud to say that we have hundreds of alumni who connect with Hamilton and with students every year through some sort of program, whether it's through the Connect team and something that's exploratory and industry education based, or whether it's through recruitment or hosting a shadowing day during our shadowing program. But there are just so many ways that we have tried to enable our alumni to have easy ways to connect with students, because those are the folks that have the biggest impact on our students' development. So I can tell you briefly, we have over 80 employers who visit campus every year. I think knowing how successful some of our virtual things have been going in the past couple of weeks, I think that opens us up longer term for additional opportunities to really remove some of the barriers that employers might face and connecting with our students around recruiting. And we also we have on the alumni side, so that with all of our student-facing things, but our team also runs an alumni career network called the Hamilton Career Network, and that's a way for alumni to connect with other alumni, but also back with students around career-related and industry-specific issues. So we have built the structures to be able to support the alumni and the students' needs to connect with one another, and we're really proud to be able to talk with you about that today. If you have other questions later.
Great. Hey, Maggie, your turn. You're up.
Hi, everybody. My name is Maggie. I am a senior, as David mentioned. I'm from Watertown, Connecticut. My major is government, and I'm an American Studies and Theater double minor. As Janine mentioned, I've worked for the Career Center. I've been on staff for 4 years, and I'm currently the senior creative advisor for the Discovery team. Outside of work, I do a lot of student theater. I've been directing a ton at Hamilton, and I also work at Cafe Opus, which a lot of you probably don't know what that is because you haven't actually been on campus, but we have a really cool little cafe on campus, and I am a barista there. So I think we're gonna get into some questions. Yeah, everybody ready?
Yeah, go
All
for it.
right. So our first kind of chunk of questions is about internship prep and kind of general questions. First question is, how can an internship prepare you for a prospective career? So Heather, would you like to answer that one?
Sure. An internship experience can be very, very beneficial. In fact, we encourage students to have at least 2 career-related experiences, is what we like to call them, before they graduate. And what's great about that is, you know, Janine had talked about career exploration as being a process of reading, watching, talking, and doing something. Those are maybe not in that order. Sorry.
Good, you got it. You got it.
But the doing piece is the career-related experience or the internship. So that can help you decide if that work feels right to you, if it's something that you're going to enjoy long-term. And we like to think of it really broadly too. There are a lot of different ways you can explore careers, not just in the summer, but during the academic year, maybe an on-campus job or a leadership opportunity in a club or organization. So a lot of benefit to those experiences to help you know what you like and what you don't like. Anybody want to add anything?
No, you got it.
Cool. Okay. So another question we have about internships is, where have students interned and if there are any formal arrangements with companies? Before I hand that over to Abby to kind of get the latter half, I'll say that I've interned at a bunch of different places. I interned at the Department of Justice my junior year. And the year before that, I worked as a campaign manager in my hometown. My friends have interned virtually everywhere. It's all over the map. Hamilton students really find their own experiences often, and sometimes things fall into their lap from connections with alumni. It's really all over the map, but I don't know if Abby, you want to say anything about formal internships or add anything to what I said.
Sure, thank you. I would say that one of the strengths of our employer program is that it's so alumni driven. So I would say probably 75% or more of our key employers, our most highly engaged or our impact employers, as we call them, have alumni or parents at the helm driving the relationship and helping to make connections with students or for students. So to think about the companies that come to campus, there are not necessarily guaranteed spots at these companies for Hamilton students, but we do everything in our power to remove any barriers that students have to connecting with these companies. I think there's nothing easier than being able to just walk out of your residence hall and go to the Career Center or another place on campus some evening to learn about a company. I think some of that is great exploratory type of opportunities, but also if it's a company that you definitely know that you're interested in, it's a really easy way to connect and to learn more. And we set up a lot of on-campus interviews or more informal chats with the alumni and employers who come to campus. So we, as Maggie said, students ultimately get themselves their opportunities, but we try to enable those connections and to really identify for students who the companies are and the alumni at those companies most invested in Hamilton and who want to connect. We are certainly a target school for certain companies, and for others, we are schools that a school that companies recruit at. So even as not as a target school, we still, with alumni driving the relationship, are able to help make those connections for students. So yes, I think there are some programs that we can consistently count on year to year, but others that open up for us every year that are new, and they're all new relationships. And I think of all of our companies as places where alumni don't work yet necessarily if we don't have an alum there at this point. So everything is an opportunity for our students.
Hey, I'd like to add that Hamilton students are great resources for other students. There's a lot of peer-to-peer networking that happens. I just talked to one of my advisees today that got an internship through a friend who said she was at this particular place last summer. They talked and she reached out, and we have formalized that process, and we have an online system where you can search hundreds and hundreds of places where other Hamilton students have interned by geography, by major, by career area. And so your peers are a great resource as well.
All right, now we have a question from our live YouTube chat. This one, Janine can answer. So the question is, how will my advisor be able to help me navigate my changing career and academic pursuits, even if it is not in their area of expertise?
That's a really great question. And it's a big part of the reason that we moved to the model of us being generalists and sticking with a student throughout their 4 years. Because someone who works at the college full time is not going to be a complete expert in any of the industries you are interested in, but we are experts at coaching you, at counseling you, and at helping you connect with the people who are actually experts in industries. And so part of it is really just through us doing kind of in-depth conversations about where your interests are leading you and what appeals to you about different things, finding where the opportunities are for you to learn more about something, to figure out whether it's the fit for you, and then to learn enough that you're getting great advice and mentorship from people out there in the real world who can answer the questions about that industry or that role that you're thinking about expanding to. I think, a lot of students come into Hamilton thinking they're decided. And we've lived through this enough years to know that even someone who is decided when they come in may be undecided in a month or a couple months. And so our approach with students is really to ask those questions about what drives you and how do you feel most successful out there in the world, so that the work that we do in exploration can transition really well from field to field. Was that a little too mushy gushy?
It's always mushy gushy.
Heather, we have a couple of pre-law questions. So Leslie talked about pre-health advising. If you could talk a little bit about kind of pre-law advising, especially there's a question about students who aren't majoring in traditional jurisprudence, poli-sci, philosophy track, but still want to go to law school eventually.
Well, this is a good question. I love this one. There is no real pre-law advising at Hamilton because you can major in anything and you can pretty much do any extracurriculars you want to. Law schools today are really not looking for the guy who's a government major who runs the pre-law society. That's fine if that's what you want to do, but if that's not what you want to do, you could also be a dance major who is passionate about education. Law touches everything, and therefore, even if you are interested in law, I may not be your advisor. I'm here if you need a specific question about an LSAT or something like that, but you're going to be working with your dedicated advisor to talk to other folks who have gone to law school and are working in law. But they really want in their incoming classes diversity in majors and in experiences and in life. So it's really your story to write, and we'll help you get there.
Great. We have another question. Does Hamilton provide career guidance after students graduate? David, do you want to speak to that?
Sure, absolutely. We're your career advisor for life, so to speak. I will say that most likely we're going to be the most helpful, like within a year or a couple of years of graduation. As people progress to kind of mid-level careers, we probably, are going to be less likely to have the information that you might need, although we certainly can help you with the process of networking and putting you in touch with other people. But we find that mostly students that have graduated and are reaching back do so kind of within a year or two, and we're certainly happy to work with you then. I know Leslie mentioned that she typically works with students after they graduate, our alumni, but we do too, and so it doesn't stop the day you graduate.
I'm sure Abby has something to add.
Yeah, and I wanted to add, I referenced the Hamilton Career Network earlier, and as you transition from student to alumnus, you are able to be part of that network, and the purpose of it is to help people connect with other people in the network. And so to know that you might not have a career advisor in that network specifically, but that the networking you will do will be really powerful for you, I think is a great thing to keep in mind. You are part of a community from the day that you matriculate at Hamilton. The alumni are invested in you from that day, and that only grows and deepens as you graduate and become part of that larger network.
Yeah, thank you.
Great. We have kind of a bundle of questions all about internship support. So Janine, do you want to just give a little bit of info on summer internship funding?
Sure, absolutely. So we offer summer internship funding that students can apply to and can receive as many times during their Hamilton career as they need it. That's a recent policy change, actually, that we were really happy to be able to do. And, a large part of why we can offer this funding is due to generosity from Hamilton alums and the Hamilton community. And so there's a process where students apply by around the beginning of April, whether or not they've secured opportunities, and we work with them to help them make sure that they can use that funding that they've been granted until ideally they get an opportunity. So that funding is meant to cover cost of living expenses. So you don't live in New York City and you're going to live there and work there over the course of the summer. We calculate what expenses you might have for the course of that summer and are able to fund you based on that. Does that help with the funding part of it?
Great. So then another question that this speaks a little bit to is, obviously we know Hamilton is not super close to a major city, so the internship program is a little bit different than perhaps at other schools. But for one, you can always get summer internship funding to be able to have an internship over the summer in a bigger city. The other thing that I can speak to is that Hamilton has semester-long programs that are internship based. One of them is in Washington, D.C. That's the program I did my junior spring. So I had an almost full-time internship at the Department of Justice. So if you're someone who really cares about being in D.C. or New York, for me, knowing that D.C. program existed at Hamilton was one of the things that helped me kind of feel more comfortable going somewhere that's obviously not as close to a major city.
So
all right.
I have a couple of add-ons to that, if that's okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
So there's a really great program through our COOP program called the COOP Service Intern Program that actually sets up students with local opportunities at nonprofits. And there are about a dozen students who are part of that program for their first year and sophomore year, which is a great opportunity to get involved in the local community. And the organizations really create roles that fit well for those students, as far as I understand, which I think is incredible as an opportunity. And Hamilton is really building out what we do for experiential learning. And so there are a number of opportunities through coursework and the Levitt Center and the COOP that help students have things that are career related and experiential as part of their coursework and outside of it. And then I know this is a multi-part answer, but the last thing to think about is one of the things we work with students in a really in-depth way is figuring out what opportunity actually exists around them, even when they don't know that in their small town, there's going to be something that feels career related and that they can build skills in. And so that's one of the big things that we work on in first year and sophomore year, when a lot of people really want to stay close to home over the course of a summer and will be more successful staying close to home.
And just to prove that none of those things are a lie, I had a COOP internship my freshman year. this year I interned at the Oneida County DA's office right in Utica. And I also had a hometown internship between my junior and senior year. So all of those things are very true, and I am proof.
You have done it all.
It's a random student off the sidewalk.
done it all. Leslie, did you want to mention the upstate med internship?
Oh, was there a specific question about it?
I'm not sure. Maybe
Okay,
it exists.
so,
But
so
UCare
yeah.
program.
sorry, what was that,
I
David?
think the UCare.
Yes,
UCare?
yes.
Yeah, okay.
So Hamilton being just about an hour from Syracuse, we enjoy a pretty close partnership with SUNY Upstate Medical University. And one of the programs that was developed about 2 years ago in partnership with one of our alums, who is a physician and the director of a residency program at SUNY Upstate, is a program called UCare, the summer program offering students a mixture of shadowing experiences where they work alongside nursing staff for a few weeks in the program, followed by observing medical residents and medical students in 2 different hospital systems in the Syracuse area. And then they also spend time attending programs offered by the admissions office on such things as writing your personal statement and creating your AMCAS application. So it's a wonderful program. They opened it up to a few other area colleges, and they usually select 6 to 8 students to participate from Hamilton to participate each summer. Great program.
Okay, switching gears from, well, I guess we're still on the internship track, but a question for Heather. There's a question about kind of certain majors having more or less difficulty securing internships. So on one end of the spectrum, examples, creative writing or cinema, people feeling like it might be more difficult than, say, being an econ major. So if you could just speak a little bit, and Janine, you might want to chime in too, just on the different ways that students of all different areas of study can secure internships.
Sure. Well, one thing that your advisor will do with you is try to expand your thinking around your major and what it applies to. Because if you're going to a liberal arts college, you're really not being trained to do any specific major, right? You're learning about a discipline, you're gaining skills, but you're not going to leave with an advertising degree. However, if you wanted to work in advertising, you could major in just about anything, including, what were the ones you said? Creative writing.
Creative writing and cinema.
So, it's kind of expanding the thinking, because you probably won't be creatively writing as an internship your first couple of summers, right? I mean, if you think about it, there aren't many jobs that allow you to write creatively for a living. But if that is the end goal, we can work towards it. But your internship, if that were your end goal, you might want to go to a publishing house to learn more about how the inside works. You might want to go to your local newspaper just to see what it's like to work in print. It's really kind of changing the thinking around major dictating career, because they really don't. You can major in anything and be anything, which is really the beauty of it.
Janine,
Including doctors, people.
What she said.
Okay, great. A question. Oh, David, do you want to add something?
No, I'm good.
No? Okay. Zoom is weird because if you move a little bit, I'm like, oh, they got something to say. This one is for Abby. You mentioned in your introduction that about 80 different companies are come to campus each year, but this question is, how frequently do you have companies on campus to do recruiting, internship, or interview? And then the kind of follow-up to that is, can you give a couple examples of companies that frequently come to campus?
Sure. So in terms of frequency, I can tell you when our busy times are each year, and that's the fall and the spring. And so through September through probably the end of October, early November, we see probably one company on campus a day, if not more, on certain days. And they're doing everything from having informational chats with students to interviewing them for actual positions that they're recruiting for actively, running info sessions, talking about resumes, doing things that are going to help students feel like they know the company a little bit more and that they're giving students the right pathway from maybe a little bit of interest to actually becoming a competitive applicant for that company. So the fall and the spring are the times when that happens. We do have companies that come more than once a year. Sometimes they come both in the fall and the spring, and for different purposes. The fall might be a more introductory time to connect with younger students. The spring might be when they're actually doing the recruitment. So I would say the core of our employers, our base of employers, the ones that are the most active with us, probably do make a visit once a year, if not more. And some examples of that, and I will give the caveat that some companies just don't ever come to campus, and they're not ever going to come to campus because it's either not something that they can have the budget to do, or it's not the type of company that recruits widely. They might not have huge amounts of positions open every year. So some of the companies that we have on campus should not look to be representative of the entirety of our employer engagement program, but we have Peace Corps on campus a couple of times a year, Teach for America a couple of times a year. In the banking and consulting space, Goldman Sachs and Deutsche Bank make 2 visits a year to campus. A couple of consulting firms, Wayfair, which is a company I'm sure you've all heard of or seen, is a place where many Hamilton people work and that visits campus. And for those who can't visit campus, we do try to connect students in other ways and with specific alumni so that they can make those good connections regardless of their proximity to campus or their ability to visit. We don't host a college or a employment fair or a career fair in that general sense. And I think there are a couple of reasons for it. The most important that I'll note is that we really want our employers to feel that they're having a personalized visit to campus. The same way that if you visited campus, we wanted you to feel that you were able to explore the things you wanted and talk with folks and look around and do things on your own timeline. We want our employers to come and for us to be able to build a visit for them that individualizes their experience on campus and connects the right students to them without giving students the conflict of having to choose which of these 50 employers should I spend all my time on today. So I think for Hamilton, it's just what our priority has been, but I don't think that limits us in any way. I think it's actually quite a benefit to be able to have a featured employer on campus. Did that answer the question?
Yes, definitely. Leslie, we have a question about January admits staying on track to applying for med school. I'm just gonna say, if you're a Jan out there, I was a Jan. It's okay. I promise.
Do everything.
I know. That's why they get me to do these things. If you were a Jan, I promise you're gonna be fine. It's a little bit tough at the beginning, but you make really great friends. I loved being a Jan. So if you're like, oh, I don't want to be a Jan, yes, you do. They're the best. Okay, let's talk about med
You are pretty great. You are pretty great.
That's awesome. Yeah, so if you have been admitted to Hamilton as a Jan admit and you are interested in a health profession, then I strongly encourage you to reach out to me this summer, ideally after June, when I'm writing committee letters for all of the people who are applying. But if we can connect in July via Zoom, one-on-one, I'd love to meet and talk with you and help you. One of the things that I strongly recommend to all pre-health students, and I've pretty much done a really great job of indoctrinating everybody at Hamilton into this mindset, is I encourage everybody to map out a tentative, in pencil, tentative 4-year plan to just show how you can accomplish the prerequisites that you have to do for your desired health profession, along with the requirements for your desired major, and if you're planning to do a minor or 2, like Maggie does, and or study abroad, or which, believe it or not, some Jans want to add an extra study abroad semester in there. In order to accomplish all that, you have to kind of plan it out and see what's really feasible. So I work with Jans. Now, one of the challenges is that you may not be able to take science classes in your first semester. And then when you come to Hamilton in January, you can't jump into the second semester of physics or chemistry because those classes are only offered in the fall. The first course in a sequence is only offered in the fall at Hamilton. So, you just, I help students figure out which prerequisites you can take that aren't sequenced. So things like psychology and calculus and statistics, and then to get going on courses that for you to explore your potential majors so that you're still getting courses accomplished, if you will, to keep you quote unquote on track. The funny thing about on track is that there is no track. I liked Heather's language before around internships, and you make your own way. Health profession schools don't have a predetermined timeline. And as Heather said, for law schools, same is true for health profession schools in terms of they're looking for people with diverse experiences and interests. So the fact that as a Jan Admit, you might spend your first semester in London is a really cool experience to have that not every other pre-health student is going to have. So there is no track. When I think of a track, I think of like everybody's on a train and it's going in this straight line. That's not the way it goes. You actually follow your own unique path toward whatever profession is your goal, which by the way could change several times. I got an email today, as a matter of fact, true story, from a Jan Admit, one of your advisees, David, who was pre-med, then she switched to pre-PA, then she left and decided she wanted to pursue public health. And I got an email from her today. She graduated in 2019 and she's back on the pre-PA path. So you may change your mind several times. And so the point is there's not really a track and there's not really a defined timeline. And I will work with individual students, whether you're a Jan Admit or not, to figure out the path that works best for you.
Great. David, we've had a couple of questions about internships outside the Northeast and or tri-state area. Can you talk a little bit about opportunities that exist kind of outside of our bubble, and how we support students in securing internships if they might want to be further away from Hamilton?
Sure.
Bubble, are we in a bubble, Maggie?
The Northeast bubble. I guess the first thing I'd say is that we have access to opportunities listed across the country. A number of them come to mind, not only our own Handshake, but there are other resources. So there's really never a shortage of formal listings. So we can help you access those resources and identify things that might be there. We also get creative when students tell us they're from Texas and they're interested in research. Well, I may not know any specific opportunities, but through brainstorming and thinking with the student about what they're interested in, where they are, we come up with a list of possibilities for them. So that's not really a deterrent. Internships are pretty common wherever you are. Probably not the biggest challenge, but a challenge might be if you're from a very small town, only 500 people. Obviously, you're probably going to need to move to or commute or look to a little bit larger metropolitan area to find some of the opportunities. Perhaps not your first or second year, but your junior summer. But there really are no shortage of opportunities throughout the country, and we can help you identify what those are and put you in touch with those people and help you learn how to present yourself.
The advisor's job is to help you strategize.
Yeah, that's pretty much what we do all day.
Also, sometimes students think that I am magical at Google because I can search for things and find things that they didn't. So sometimes our job is literally like, okay, let's do this together and let's see how this goes and what's coming up and what's not, and start to categorize and prioritize and track things. So some of it really is just that coaching feel of like, yeah, you needed someone in a room with you to bounce ideas off of.
And a lot of helping people strategize is helping them see that the network is pretty expansive and you never know where you'll find a Hamilton alum who may or may not be able to offer an opportunity, but might be a good person to connect with if that's the place that you live or would like to live, just to make a contact, because you never know what will come of that. And I also wanted to put in one other point of clarification. I know that we've talked about Handshake a couple of times. I just wanted to say what that was, which is our recruiting platform. And it's where all of the opportunities for internships and jobs, including on-campus jobs, live. And we have a way of identifying the positions that are within our Hamilton network. So you know who might be on the other end of a posting, who's invested in you already before you even applied, but the tool itself is widely used by colleges, and to that end, you have access to over 8,000 employers, and I think last year we had about 28,000 jobs and internships that were posted there for Hamilton students to search. So I just wanted to give you some numbers there about that tool and the power that it has.
All right, we have kind of a bundle of questions that are all about students who are undecided, students who have kind of a big variety of interests and don't quite know where that's going to take them. So Janine, can you talk a little bit about from first year all the way up to senior year, how we work with kind of exploration and supporting students who are both totally sure what they want to do and totally unsure what they want to do?
Yeah, I'd love to chat about that. So, some of this starts in workshops, and we offer Know Thyself workshops that really help people delve in and articulate their skills, interests, values, to talk about past experiences and pick out themes. It's a process that it really helps to talk through with other people and have them tell you what they're hearing. And especially as a first year, part of the exploration process is academic and extracurricular, right? It's not what do I want to be when I grow up, but what do I want to spend my time doing to see whether I like using that skill on a regular basis, especially because college is the kind of place where you have more choice than most people had in high school. And so you really can figure out, okay, what's intrinsically motivating to me and how can I move towards that and away from the things that I'm just kind of doing because I think I should for some reason. And so that's one of the ways that we start with exploration. And then out of that, hopefully emerge some themes of things that resonated and things that didn't so much. And so we use that process as well as a process of formal self-assessment to help students to identify some potential paths that they might want to explore. And I definitely encourage students not to choose a thing, but to choose a couple things once they get to the stage of wanting to, do some more in-depth research. So that reading, talking, watching, and doing thing I talked about before, I say it a lot, but it really is about, reading in your pajamas in your bed about some things to figure out like, okay, does this still resonate with me? Does it really not? Could I see myself doing something like that? And then once you narrow it down to like, okay, I've got a couple of ideas that continue to resonate with me, talking to people who do those things. And some of the best people, like we've been talking about, are current students, very recent alums who remember exactly what it was like to be in that undecided position. Some of my best referrals are people who graduated from college still kind of undecided as to what was next, because they can help you sit with that discomfort of being a little undecided for a little while and trying something out. So reading, talking to people who actually do those things, and then watching. So shadowing happens a little more frequently in some contexts than others, but we have a formal shadowing program that takes place over winter break and over spring break. And there's a lot of medical shadowing opportunities as well. And then doing. So thinking about doing as, like we were saying before, it's delving in a club on campus or an experiential learning through a class, through some small ways, but also through those summer experiences. And so being undecided, I think, is a really great thing. And I value exploration over decidedness to a large extent, because often when people decide too early, they move towards something that they get so deep into that it's hard to pull back because they've put so much into it. And so broadly exploring to start out helps you to, I call it being lazy about your career exploration process. You want to put the least time into things that you're not going to like as you possibly can, so you can put more time into things that really might motivate you.
And I'll just reiterate that even for health professions, my message early on is to encourage exploration of all of the health professions, because again, I think as Janine alluded to, people sometimes decide kind of really early on, and most of us may know what a doctor is because we've probably been to one before, but we may not know what a physician assistant is, or we may never have had physical therapy before, and we might not know exactly what people in occupational therapy do, for example. So even in a career field that seems very focused, I encourage all pre-health students to keep their options open. And I also am a big fan of reading, talking, watching, and doing.
To just bounce back off of Leslie, that the piece that's like you don't know what you don't know, right? You've never heard of most of the careers that are out there, and there are going to be some that are available in a couple years from now that don't exist now. And so that's why we teach this as a skill, a lifelong skill, rather than try to like give you an assessment, say, go do this, or say like, oh, okay, you're this major, you want to be this when you grow up, but teach you the skill of really delving in and learning about something and trying it out, and to have comfort with that. Because I'd say that there are a lot of people who are adults out there in the real world who aren't comfortable with the process of exploring and networking to move around from place to place, and might not find as much career happiness as they, or satisfaction as they might, if they did a little more of that.
Okay, I'm gonna ask my favorite question because the answer is awesome. Question is, how frequently do students reach out to alumni for internship/job opportunities, and how responsive/helpful are the alumni? So I will say that students reach out to alumni to network with them quite frequently and have very high success levels. Someone asked why I chose to go to Hamilton. One of my big factors was how in touch the alumni network is with current students. My best internship, which was my internship at the Department of Justice, came from a networking conversation with an alum who I had had a relationship with for 2 years by the time I was like, hey, I would like to intern at the DOJ, maybe. And she was like, boom, here you go. Like, here's all the right people to talk to. So I don't know if Heather or Janine or Abby want to talk at all extra to that, but I will say from a student perspective, alums are so excited to talk to current students.
They are. I would just add in, I would want to highlight the part about how you knew that alum for 2 years before you
Yeah.
asked.
That's important.
Because you never call someone cold and ask for anything. They need to know you a little bit before they're going to be comfortable referring you. So what we're doing all the time is helping students connect with alumni to talk about their professions, to help them learn how to have those conversations and help them learn from that alum what that world is really like, so that there's no big ask in there other than your time and your expertise. And because you need to get to know that person to let them get to know you and like you before they're comfortable maybe referring you on. That being said, it happens a lot, but it's not like you're going to come in freshman year and say, give me a list of alumni I can reach out to for internships, because we didn't have a conversation before then about who you wanted to talk to and about what and why, right? So absolutely yes, but it's a process.
And some of it might be really straightforward in that there might be an opportunity posted in Handshake that says, hey, if you're interested in this, reach out to so-and-so and express your interest before you apply. So it's much more structured, and we give you that roadmap without it feeling maybe quite as amorphous.
And in the pre-health world, there's just a very much of an attitude of pay it forward. People are always saying to me, Leslie, just I'd be happy to come back. If anybody has any questions about how to apply to med or PA or vet school, please send them my way. And it's just very, very easy for me or any of us really, to say to a student, hey, here's somebody whose situation is similar to yours, or who I think can answer that question for you. Yeah, people are just really super receptive and want to help. And that happens not even just alums, it's seniors to freshmen, first years.
Mm-hmm.
A good pay it forward mentality.
Yeah, and I'll just reiterate, our alumni are amazing. I know that right now is not a regular time in this world. We, I don't think most things about life feel normal right now, but our alumni continue right now to give back in very many ways. We have lots of Connect Team programs going on, virtual programs where alumni are talking to students about their paths. We have alumni to alumni programs going on. And so in in this time, as in as all the time, but especially in this time, they're looking to help students and to give back to that community that they really care about, which I think is pretty amazing.
David, there are two kind of number crunch questions that you might want to answer and then wrap us up. The first one is, what is the job placement rate for last year's graduating class?
I have my calculator here.
Oh, perfect.
We're all set.
We have a question about job placement, and then also how long does it typically take a graduate to find a full-time job in their field?
Sure, happy to answer the question. First of all, I'd say that we tend not to use the word placement. That would suggest that we do the work for the student. And I wish I could take credit for all the wonderful, amazing things that students do, but in fact, they really do it for themselves. So we talk about career outcomes. And so basically what we do is we survey students at graduation to find out what they're up to. And on any given year, between 40 and 50% of the graduating class, and each graduating class is about 500 students, report that they have something specific that they're planning to do: a job, a fellowship, graduate school. And so they're all set basically by graduation. We continue to survey and gather information 9 months after Hamilton. And usually around March or so, we basically publish a report in terms of what happened to a particular class. And I'm looking at the data, speaking of which, for the class of 2019, our most recent class, and looks like about 81% within 9 months indicated that they were employed. Another 13% indicated that they were in grad school or a professional school. And 3% indicated they were participating in a fellowship, which all adds up to about 97% of students by the time we collect this data 9 months out indicated that they were all set with something career related that they were excited about. So that basically, I guess that's how I'd answer the question. Honestly, I think you'll find this true with most of our peers. There's nothing necessarily magical about this. But we do pretty well in terms of students finding opportunities.
Our internship rate kind of stands out amongst our peers.
Thank you. Yes, yes. That wasn't the question, but we beat our peers on internship rates. About 10 years ago, we really made a push to emphasize the importance of internships. And you heard Heather talk about our goal of having each student have 2 of those career-related experiences by the time they graduate, and the message got through. And so at graduation, I think about 96, 97% of the class say they have had at least one internship. About 83, 84% have said they've had 2 or more, and that always stands out among our peers. We're the highest pretty much each year, so we're pretty proud of that rate. And thank you, Janine, for mentioning that. Cool. Well, I'm noticing the clock, and it is 8 o'clock, and I don't know if you remember Car talk about wasting an hour, but obviously you haven't wasted an hour with us. We've enjoyed talking with you, and let's see. So basically, we are delighted that you chose to spend the evening with us. I want to thank the panelists for spending time and answering these wonderful questions. We invite you to be back in touch with us if you have another question that we haven't answered tonight. And we hope you've learned a little bit more about how our office supports students during the time on campus. And probably most of all, we wish you well with this all-important decision that you and your parents will make. It's an important decision. We think Hamilton's a great place. We hope you decide for Hamilton, but most importantly, decide what's best for you. And good luck with that process. And thanks again for joining us, and good night.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
Good night.
Bye.